Konnichiwa, I'm John Hornick. Welcome to my Japanese Faves series, where we'll cover every major type of Japanese food. This is my take on the traditional version of the Japanese home cooking dish called Shogayaki. Shoga means ginger in Japanese, and traditional Shogayaki is made with chunks of pork or thinly sliced pork. Shogayaki pork is usually served in Japan on a bed of shredded cabbage, but I use homemade coleslaw, which pairs well with the pork and slow-cooked onions. Feel free to substitute pork belly or pork tenderloin, or even beef, chicken, or shrimp. So let's start cooking. Okay, the first thing we're going to do to make the traditional Shogayaki, which is Shogayaki with caramelized onions, is to make the marinade. And we're going to use 2 parts sake to 2 parts mirin to 2 parts shoyu, or Japanese soy sauce. And I'm using as a part 2 tablespoons. So a part is, since it's 2 parts, it's 1/4 cup. So I have 1/4 cup of sake, 1/4 cup of mirin, 1/4 cup of shoyu, about 1 tablespoon of minced ginger. This is ginger that's been preserved in sake. I always use ginger that way, rather than using fresh ginger, which it'll keep for a little while and it goes bad. A friend showed me a great trick a few years ago where you just put your pieces of ginger into a container full of sake or a container full of dry sherry, and it keeps forever, and then you can just cut up the amount that you need. Then 1 tablespoon of Japanese black sugar or brown sugar. Stir that up really well. So next we're going to marinate the pork, and 10 to 12 inches of sliced pork shoulder. These are about 1/8 of an inch thick, okay? So you want about 5 to 6 ounces per person. I'm making for 2 tonight. Putting them into a Ziploc bag that I have on my handy dandy Joe Carey bag filler. Great little device. Then we're going to add the marinade. So right after I started pouring the marinade into the bag started to leak. So I put the marinade and the pork into a different bag. Now I want to add the onions, okay? Then I want to take it off of the bag filler and close up the bag and try to get air out so it's easier for the marinade to get to everything inside. And then we want to mix it all up so that the marinade gets mixed onto the onions and the pork. And then fold the bag over, put it onto a sheet pan or a baking pan. Let's get some more air out of there. And put it in the fridge and let it marinate for 6 hours. Turn it every hour and a half. Oh, and put it into this baking pan or sheet pan so that if the bag leaks, it doesn't leak all over your fridge. Okay, so the pork and onions have been marinating for about 6 hours in the fridge. I'm bringing them out now to get them to room temperature before we cook. Okay, I've separated out the beef and the onions, and now what we're going to do is I'm sorry, it's not beef, it's pork. Blot the pork dry, okay, both sides. So I'm going to blot the top here with the paper towel, and then lay it out on paper towel. I'll lay the drier sides out on the paper towel and blot the other side. All right, now let's blot the other side. All right, now we're going to cook the onions, and we're going to use a little bit of high smoke point oil. I'm using avocado oil, and I'm using a wok. You could use a frying pan. Putting the heat on between medium and high so we can get the wok nice and hot. As soon as the oil just starts to smoke, we're going to cook the onions. Okay, our oil is getting hot. Whoa! We're going to put in the onions. Some ground pepper, and a little bit of salt. Not too much salt. Remember, we don't want to over salt. But also, there's shoyu in the marinade, and that is salty. Okay. And we want to cook and caramelize these onions. We want to keep the onions moving around a little bit so we can make sure they're all getting cooked. Okay, we're getting a beautiful caramelization on these onions here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is take them, turn off the heat, take them out of the pan and keep them warm until we are ready to plate up. Right, we want to add a little bit more of the high smoke point oil to the pan. Now that's going to get hot pretty fast because the pan's been hot and the burner underneath is hot. We're going to do that at about the same heat, slightly more than medium. Just a little bit of onion out of here. All right, let's add the pork to the pan. A little pepper. A little salt. And we're going to cook this pork kind of fast. We want to get some brown on it. So we're going to move them around in the pan so they're all getting a little bit of surface contact. Okay, we're getting some great color on some of these pieces here. You can see the nice brown caramelization on there. We're going to let these go a little bit more. Most of the liquid has cooked out of the pan, so we're going to start to get more browning now. Okay, these are looking beautiful. They've got beautiful caramelization on them. We're going to turn down our heat a bit and add a little bit of the marinade to the pan just to kind of moisten everything back up. We'll let that reduce a bit. And then we're going to plate up. Okay, most of the liquid has evaporated, so we're going to take this off the heat and keep it warm, and then we're going to plate up. Okay, here's our plate. We have our coleslaw on there. Traditionally, you just use shredded cabbage, but even though this is my version, traditional Shogayaki, I'm actually making it my own by using coleslaw instead of shredded cabbage. And we want to add some onions. And there we have it, traditional Shogayaki. You can see photos of the final dish at my Instagram, which is @chefsapprentice, cook like a pro. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.